Anyway, got another question. Have any of you taken your Tylenol today? I just need to know if any of you have taken your autism pills. Because, like, Shadow the Hedgehog told me that if somebody tries to take the autism pills from you, they should try to take them. They should just try. Come and take them. Come and take them. Have you guys seen that fucking meme? Hold on. Hold on. Here it is. Where is it? There it is. There's our boy in black. There's our boy in black. Come and take it. That's right, nerd. I got the autism pills. That means I like trains more than you. You'll never be able to match my power. Just needed to know if any of you have taken them today. We'll talk about the fan art section, then we'll talk about autism, which I know that kind of feels like we're talking about the same thing twice, but this one has boobies. So I need you to understand it's really different. It's really different. Also, that thigh is heavily muscled. Jesus Christ, I came back from the gym to stream, but I do not have this kind of musculature or curvature in real life. But God fucking damn if I could. I'm trying. I am trying. I am trying to eat leaner, and I am trying to get at least the abs part of this. I don't know if I need the boobies very much. I'm kind of chubby. I've already got those in spades. But this is from Living Thrashcan. Said, hiya, I wanted to draw a beefy Suris to practice proportions. I think this drawing came out nicely. Hope I like it. Jassa says, you only do half a leg day. Jesus. Anyway, as always, thank you for your fan art submissions. That's the word. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it in the fan art section of the Discord. That said, let's go ahead and talk about autism. So the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, is now suing the makers of Tylenol because of autism. Why? The makers of Tylenol, Johnson & Johnson and Kevnu, were sued on Tuesday because the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, who accused them of knowingly hiding the drug's supposed links to autism and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. We don't have a causative link between Tylenol and autism. But you can bet your asses that Republicans don't give a shit about facts anymore. You guys, I need you to understand, there's this movie called Idiocracy that everybody talks about and nobody's fucking seen. I am one of those people who hasn't seen the movie, but I keep seeing clips of it more and more online. Clips of people trying to water plants with Gatorade. Tal, thank you for resubscribing. I appreciate it. But clips of people trying to water plants with Gatorade because the electrolytes, it's what plants crave. And the more I see clips from the movie, the more I realize I should probably watch the movie because it's just what we're fucking living through with the modern day Republican Party. And that's really frustrating. That's really frustrating because once upon a time, the Republican Party was the party of moderation and moral principles. That's what their supposed positions were. Now, obviously, because they began as a party, not the original Republican Party, not the one that birthed Abraham Lincoln, but the Republican Party that was birthed from the Southern Strategy was a party that was birthed literally because they could not get votes anymore because Democrats were doing just that damn good with all of their leftist bullshit. And so the Republicans needed to have a new plan, and that plan was to grab, I'm checking my notes here, stupid, dumb white hicks. That's what they did. They needed to find white racists to vote for them because they didn't have access to votes anymore. I wish I was kidding. I really wish I was kidding. In fact, actually, here, let's just go right over here. The Southern Strategy in the political history of the United States was a campaign strategy of the Republican Party that they actively pursued from the 60s that sought to increase and preserve support from white voters in the South by endorsing racial segregation, racial discrimination, disenfranchisement of black voters, and that it involved directly promoting conservative views on immigration, taxes, social welfare programs, law enforcement, and states' rights. The strategy proved successful, and by the late 1970s, the regular political leadership of most southern states had switched from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party. God, I love being able to Google shit super quick. God, I love that. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Also, man, Why do we live in this fucking world? This is a tale of two conversations being held simultaneously. Check this out. Ravi just sent this to me. I want you to read these two things back to back. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton sues Tylenol makers over autism. RFK Jr. says there's no sufficient evidence that Tylenol definitively causes autism. I desperately need you to internalize both of these headlines. Both of them. And understand that they are coming from the same fucking party. How can these be coming from the same fucking party? That doesn't make any fucking sense. Anyway, Paxton, a Republican, sued 5 weeks after Republican President Donald Trump said using Tylenol during pregnancy can cause autism in children. No, Tylenol in pregnancy does not cause autism in children. Playing Magic the Gathering while pregnant causes autism because the kid gets that shit via osmosis. Building a Lego set while pregnant causes autism. Again, osmosis. Because what is a Lego set except a model train set for newbies? I'm sorry, but the results are in. Autism is caused by card games and train sets. Not at all from fucking Tylenol. Liz Grizz, thank you for redeeming your points. Why did I say redeeming your points? God, I'm so tired. Liz Grizz, thank you for cheering 1,000 bits. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. That will buy me at least 2 McDouble. Johnson & Johnson sold Tylenol for more than 6 decades, and its former Kenvue unit has sold it since 2023. Kenvue unit? Yeah, Kenvue unit has sold it since 2023 after being spun off. The pain reliever is known generically as well, hold on now. I don't know how to pronounce that. If the United States president can't pronounce it, I can't pronounce it either. Acetaminophen. Kenvue has repeatedly defended acetaminophen Tylenol's claims, and in a statement said it would defend against Paxton's lawsuit. Acetaminophen. Okay, you caught me. I can actually pronounce it. If I can pronounce this fucking Magic the Gathering card, let me see here. Where is it? Where's the fucking card? I can pronounce acetaminophen because if I can pronounce this fucking Magic the Gathering card right here, I can pronounce acetaminophen. And I can definitely pronounce this card entirely, like in its entirely and correctly. This is Asmarana Marticadice and Kuldakar. Asmarana Marticadice and Kuldakar. I can pronounce acetaminophen because I can pronounce this fucking shit. But I'm really bad with last names for some reason. I don't know what's wrong with me. Again, maybe autism. I don't know. Acetaminophen is the safest pain reliever option for pregnant women as needed throughout their entire pregnancy, Kenvue said. We are deeply concerned by the perpetuation of misinformation on the safety of acetaminophen. Johnson & Johnson did not comment on the lawsuit and in a separate statement said Kenvue is responsible for all rights and liabilities associated with the sale of its over-the-counter products, including Tylenol. Man, Johnson & Johnson is already having to reel a lot because after everything that went down with Diddy, they've lost like 24% of their sales. They were some of the real victims in that entire brigade. Varen VT says, I guess people just need more complicated last names for you to remember. Nope, none of that. None of that shit. Bohemian says, I struggle with the Terminator's last name. Don't feel bad. Yeah, I struggle with it too because I feel like I'm so white that if I say it the wrong way, I get disinvited from the barbecue. And I don't want to do that because I like flavor. The white person barbecue is sad. It has grilled chicken with no seasoning. And somebody there wants fucking medium chicken tenders, probably, and to sell me bath salts. I don't like any of that shit. Paxton says the U.S. confirmed Tylenol's risks. Paxton filed his complaint in a Texas state court in rural Panola County, which borders Louisiana, where Trump won 83% of the vote. He said the federal government confirmed I'm going to keep highlighting the fucking shit. Confirmed last month that using acetaminophen during pregnancy likely caused autism and ADHD, and that despite overwhelming evidence, Johnson & Johnson and Kenvue did not warn pregnant women of the risks. Paxton also cited Trump urging pregnant women to not use Tylenol unless it was absolutely necessary, a claim the president repeated in a Truth Social post on Sunday. The Attorney General said Johnson & Johnson and Kenvue violated a Texas law against deceptive trade practices. Okay. He's also mounting a primary challenge against the incumbent Senator John Cornyn, positioning himself to the right of the four-term Republican and as a strong supporter of Trump's agenda. Remember, the correct way to be a Republican is to throw your brain cells on the ground and squish them. Anyway, let's look at what's being said now. Let's look at what's being said now. Also, what is this? What is this? The Hill? Don't do this. That's dumb and stupid. Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said there's not sufficient evidence that Tylenol causes autism. Softening warnings he and President Trump gave repeatedly made to discourage the medicine's use by pregnant women and young children. Okay, cool. So here's the thing that happens. The president of the United States will say something. Everybody will get on board with it because he's dumb and crazy, but he's the guy in charge. So they'll get on board with it so that they can have the dumb and crazy, and they can look just as dumb and crazy alongside him because it really matters to them. It really, truly matters to them that they are in the same ballpark as the idiot who's not wearing his clothes, but still calls himself the emperor. And then, as people start fact-checking their claims, they slowly start walking it back. Well, I didn't actually mean that it causes autism. No, it might actually. It's a little inconclusive. It was pretty fucking conclusive when you said it the first time. Own it, you goddamn coward. Keep saying the stupid shit so we can keep calling you stupid. Walking it back is cowardly. Either say, I was wrong, and you should not listen to me when I give medical advice any longer, or say, I am right, and let people own your ass. But doing this pussy-footed in the middle, slowly ghost walking it back, hoping that people will just stop talking about it. No, you're the administration that thought that Tylenol caused autism. That's gonna be one of the things you get to live with. You're the administration that is trying to covertly do a soft genocide of trans people. You're the administration that is trying to eliminate homeless people. You're the administration that was incredibly supportive over the genocide in Israel. Israel's genocide of the Palestinians. You're the administration that did everything in their power to undermine women's rights and get rid of abortion. You're the administration that said that Tylenol caused autism. But if Tylenol caused autism, then we would have a fucking functional train network in the United States. And we don't. You know why we don't have a functional train network? Because we just don't have that many autists in the United States. Because if we did, we could actually have public transportation for all by the end of the fucking decade. But we don't. Kennedy says, we've all said from the beginning that the causative association between Tylenol given in pregnancy is not sufficient to say it definitely caused autism, but it is very suggestive. No, it's not very suggestive. It's not. You're the same guy. You're the same guy that said that people shouldn't trust medical experts with their medical expertise. You're the same person who is actively giving advice that kills people, you moron. Own it, you goddamn coward. Just own it. It ain't hard. It isn't difficult to just own that shit. Will Shoutout says your RFK impression needs work. I can still understand what you're saying. So, two things. I agree with you. I don't do well enough because you can't understand the words coming out of my mouth. However, every time I give that association, I feel like I'm being really ableist. And I know that there's going to be somebody that has a vocal problem in my audience that is going to make mention of the fact that I'm being incredibly ableist when I do so. And you know what? That person is technically correct. I am entirely in the wrong. At the same time, I think it's entirely okay to make fun of every fucking deficiency from a guy that says things that RFK Jr. says. I really do. It's like how you never want to fat shame somebody, but the minute that somebody who's like 350 pounds of just pure lard, which is not very far off from me, mind you, is the same one saying that he's got the genes of the master race, you're just like, my guy, I am so close. I am so close to doing something absolutely objectionable, and it is going to be all your fault. You need to quit. You need to quit because your master's genes, your master race genes did not stop you from having a thyroid problem. I recognize it's a horrible thing to say, but I also recognize at a certain point, somebody is just setting themselves up for failure. Let's see here. Anselin says, speak with a mouthful of marshmallows so you can sound like a marshmallow brain. Woolshar says he's not disabled. A worm ate his brain, so he's a zombie. Zombies are always valid targets. Well, no, the vocal cord thing is actually like a disability. Like that's actually something that was outside of his control. I recognize that. But I'm also not going to have any fucking mercy for a guy whose words are actively condemning friends of mine to a life of being ostracized. I ain't doing it. I don't think people like that deserve the kids' gloves at all, in any way, shape, or form. The secretary's comments come more than a month after he and Trump held a press conference specifically warning women against taking medication without citing any scientific evidence. Yeah, so remember, Trump said that, oh, by the way, we're going to have a big autism announcement, a huge autism announcement. And you guys should be ready for it. It's going to be huge. It's going to be massive. And you can imagine that everybody in the Trump administration started fucking scrambling after that point, trying to figure out how in the hell they were going to actually make good on Trump's promise of having a fucking announcement that's going to be huge and game-breaking about autism of all things. I imagine the timeline of events was Trump made the announcement and everybody started fucking scrambling, trying to figure out what the hell to say and how to say it. And then one person said, okay, we can scapegoat something. We can probably scapegoat something. I think I've got this, guys. I think I've got this. Give me a second. And then proceeded to give Trump the autism announcement that we now know and love today. That's my guess. That's my guess as to what happened. Now, I'm probably entirely incorrect. I could be completely wrong on that. But that's the timeline that I imagine in my head. Pernius says, I feel like Tylenol didn't give Trump money, so that's why it's to blame. Could be. Could be. Asina Salon, thank you very much for resubscribing for 54 months so far. God damn. That's huge, as the current world leader would say. Huge. Probably. I don't know. I don't speak his language. Not really. Twilight Grim says, you're skipping the circumcision part. Oh yeah, he also said that circumcision probably causes autism, which has some, like, really weird vibes to me. Because, like, once you start saying that, I'm really, really close to thinking you're just trying to target Jewish people at that point. It feels weird to not point that out, you know? Just a witty whittle bit strange. Just a tiny bit. I am not. I refuse. I refuse to dredge up any of that again. I lost a whole day to it. I ain't doing it again. But the TLDR is that Katini redeemed the nuke, and I did not realize that I had physical limits like that. But now I know. Anyway, let's see here. Trump at the time repeatedly told women to tough it out rather than take Tylenol. During a cabinet meeting earlier this month, Kennedy linked circumcision and autism because of the administration of Tylenol, and he said anyone who opposed the theory was motivated by hatred from Trump. If you like the Jews, you hate the president. That's what that reads to me. That's what that reads to me. It cannot read as anything else in my brain other than just anti-Semitic nonsense. And there's going to be some twit somewhere, like, who's going to be in my comment section. They're going to be like, look at everything that's going on in Israel and Gaza. Shouldn't you be an anti-Semite? Like, fuck off. Fuck off, you dumb idiot. Yeah, the VOD's on the watering hole of all of the terrible shit that y'all put me through. I'll never forget it, as much as I want to. Life will be better when I can forget it. But for now, I can't. I'm not allowed to. Courage the Cowardly Dog, PC voice. You twit. Jassa has posted a YouTube link. What's the YouTube link of? Oh, I ain't watching that shit. Not after what y'all put me through. No. Kennedy also had said that anybody who takes Tylenol during pregnancy is irresponsible. We're doing studies to make the proof. First of all, that's not how you do studies. You don't do studies to make the proof. You say, maybe Tylenol has an adverse effect, and we do not know what it is. I suspect it could be autism. That's my hypothesis. I'm gonna now go do some research to figure out if that's true. You do not use flippant language like I'm going to make proof. That just sounds like lying. And then, of course, Kennedy's remarks came after General Paxton sued the manufacturer of Tylenol. Man, I wonder how that lawsuit's going to turn out. How do you guys figure that lawsuit's going to turn out? The secretary's most recent comments echoed what the Food and Drug Administration said in its note to positions on the use of acetaminophen by pregnant women, as well as public statements about changing the label on acetaminophen. The agency has noted that a causal relationship has not been established, and there are contrary studies in the scientific literature. God. RFK Jr., the idiot and also coward. Axo says, hot take, trying to prevent disabilities instead of shape the world to be more accommodating for disabled people is eugenics. I can understand that take, even if I don't entirely agree with it. I feel like, as an example, somebody would be considered if they become a quadruple amputee, but one would not say it's eugenics to try to prevent quadruple amputeeism. That feels like a statement that has a very good thought behind it, but is not true all of the time. At least that's how I read it, though. Asina says, is it bad for me to hope for a GOP stroke out? No, it's not. I wouldn't say it's bad at all at this point. The GOP as an apparatus has a body count. Axel says that's not the same, you know what I mean? Well, understandable, but like if there are cognitive disabilities that we can prevent, I do not see a problem with trying to prevent them. But to be fair, there's a false dichotomy that I've thrown in here, and that's my fault. Because your statement, Axo, was trying to prevent disabilities instead of shaping the world to be more accommodating, whereas I would argue that we should both be trying to stop disabilities where we can, but also shape the world to be more accommodating at the same time. I would argue we can do both. I would argue it's our responsibility to do both. But that was my fault for not thinking of that middle ground as opposed to just going and doing the whole like, well, actually I'm right thing, because that's an arrogant, dumb thing for me to do. And I do it a lot. I recognize that. Some would say that that's a reason that people watch me, and others would say that's a reason to never fucking watch me. Honestly. Jassa, thank you for making me wet myself. Thank you for the hydrate. I appreciate it. Anyway, that's all on that. We don't have any significant evidence that says that Tylenol causes autism, but RFK Jr. certainly wants to pretend that there is, and now he's wanting to pretend that things are inconclusive, because they were always inconclusive, but he's got to protect his own ass. The coward. Hey, you made it to the end. I want to give an extra thanks to the patrons who allow me to do this full time. I want to thank Aaron Rail, Astral, Britzkrieg, Jemshin, Poundini, Red Joker, Victoria, Jonas, Craig, Tarika, Fireshard, Smiling GM, John, Dren Hadamada, Creeper, Sagitta, you know I'm not saying that last part, Valis of Seraph, Ottoman Angel, Rooster Rachel, and Fire Panda, who are all my $20 and up patrons.